within the business, well, the world of the business, and in terms of metrics in some ways that could be quantified. But the question I do have is, the institutions already, like charities, that are built on the concept of what they believed is to be kind, and then you kind of find out that their financials aren't really matching and stuff like that. Do you find that they're monetizing the concept of agency and kindness?
No, I don't. The not-for-profit model is broken, in my view. Because yeah, I mean, maybe that was too,
No, no,
that's pretty blunt, but
no, yeah. No,
it's because, remember, it's a combination of two questions when Hasa with what's right or wrong. And I say I try not to, let's just stick with like letting people make some decisions for themselves, okay? So that's number one. I think there's a lot of not-for-profits that have much more prescriptive ideas of things. And the second one is what you said, most not-for-profits by definition they don't have agency themselves.
Because I think of Paul Newman's business model.
Yeah.
Everything was sales and building this massive conglomerate, but majority of it was after their overhead, they donated everything, and then they were able to still maintain the business model. It's still today, so.
But it's also non-binary, right? Because when people ask me, what are you for-profit or not-for-profit, I say, is Red Helicopter for-profit or not-for-profit? What do you think I say? Yes. Yes. Are you American or Asian?
Yes.
Yes, I am. Are you a high school teacher or a private equity investor? Good, yeah. So I just think about it from like a statement with coding and sort of prescriptiveness. So Ashley Stewart, I would argue, we accomplished quite a bit for the Black community. You should have seen the health data, the safety data. I haven't even shown you the actuarial data. It was shocking. It was more shocking than the financial results. And one of the reasons why, again, you're gonna say, man, this guy cries a lot. At the end of the book, after my mom died, I retired. I just couldn't do it anymore, actually. It was like she died very suddenly. I just wasn't ready for it. So I went into hiding. I just took a year off. I've never done that in my life, actually. I just was like, I can't do it. Because I've been through a war. I mean, this 7 years, I make it sound fun. It was a war. There were a lot of people who wanted us to fail because it broke every pattern that they were, what? Korean guy? Black women? Crushing it after we said, you're crazy? People don't like that. So the results with, on the not-for-profit side, like what we did with Ashley Stewart on the health data, what really sealed it, when Howard University, which many of you may not know because you're not living in the US, just to put it in context, Howard University is the most important and prestigious Black university in the world. And so at the end of the book, I described what got me out of retirement was MIT called, and I said, okay, I like MIT, fine, I'll teach. But when Howard called me and said, hey, we think you are the most qualified person to chair entrepreneurship at Howard University, I cried. And I said, wow, you saw what we did. I'm like, they're like, we watched everything. And I was like, oh. They're like, we need that type of thinking. Come help us. And I was like, and it's a really historic appointment in the United States history that this has happened. I don't talk about this in large groups because it sounds like, oh, I hate that, but it is. There's a Korean guy chairing entrepreneurship at Howard University. And the only narrative that people like to tell is that Korean people and Black people hate each other because of the LA riots. That's the one narrative. Life's more complicated than that. There's so many examples of friendships I've seen all over the place. I refuse to let that story be told. That's part of the story, but other things. And so anyway, so just think about it in the context of like Asian narratives and what does it mean to be successful in Asian culture? Like Asian people, like they're not creative? Of course Asian people are creative. Like Asian culture is so complicated and nonlinear and beautiful. Asian people are really creative. And it's not just K-pop and K-drama. It is in, and that has to be shown more. Because Asian culture cannot be put in code. It cannot be. And so that's...
We have two more questions. James, can I ask you a really quick question? Great to see. You talk in the book about having that 6 months away from your family to do the work that you needed to do initially at Ashley Stewart. And what I'm really curious about, and so much of the book that is quite inspiring, is not only the business acumen, but life acumen that you share. I'm just really curious how you took your own family along your journey, especially in that 6 months, which sounded really isolating at times for you. But also even now, how do you take your family along this journey with you?
Yeah, so 2013, my oldest was 10. So they were 10, 8, 6. Today they're 22, 20, 18. So 10, 8, 6, my wife was part-time running the science portfolio of Cure Alzheimer's. My wife is an empiricist. I'm the romantic musician in the relationship. She's like the, okay? It's funny, right? Like I'm more like the hey, and she's like, that doesn't make sense. Which is, for me, it's fun because sometimes outside in the world, I have to play the other role more. So yeah, I'm like the crazy artist in our relationship. So in the book, one of the other protagonists is my wife. You know, there were times I wanted to quit, and my wife said, my husband, I married someone who doesn't quit. And she's like, you can do it. And we made a real social compact, and I wrote in the book that none of this would have happened but for the fact that the company benefited from all the things my wife does as a mom that's not measured by economics. Wouldn't have happened. That if she had said, I cannot do this anymore, I would have quit. So she was along for the ride. This was the Ree family invested in this together, you know, and not just money, but like our lives. I was away not just for those 6 months, a lot, those 7 years. And then my kids, you know, Daddy talked to them about this and said, this is why this is happening. And now they really understand it after they read the book. They're very proud. And I wouldn't have written the book if they had not approved the book. They read the book, and I said, can I do this? And they said, you can do it. So they've been along for the ride. I'm like this in any part of my life. I'm like, in Korean it's like kachi kaja, like you, kachi. Let's do it together. You in it together? Let's go. Then fine, we're gonna do it. But don't tell me afterwards, oh, you shouldn't have done that. No, we said we're doing it together. So, and the last part I'll say is that one of the reasons why, you know, I said this at lunch too, in a lot of ways this is just like a song that I'm inviting people to hear it. And I always laugh and think about Lord of the Rings. I'm basically calling the armies of Middle-earth, the hobbits, the elves, the dwarves, like the men, like the trees, you know, the ents. And I'm calling everyone and saying, hey, what do you think? Like, is it time for a new fellowship? And it's with sort of childlike sort of simplicity and saying, I don't want the ring of power, trust me, like, don't want it. It's bad. But let's do this. And so one of the things I'm sensitive about, I'm sharing this with this audience, I've kept a pretty low profile for someone who's done a pretty public TED Talk with a best-selling book. It's very like under the radar, sort of like, I don't put my face on the cover. It's a stupid name. It's very intentional because I'm actually also protecting my family. So people ask me all the time, they're like, you could run for president of the United States. And I could. I won't. I won't. Because of my family. And I think there's a better way to affect change. It's not through existing systems. It's through changing opinions. Right? It's mind share. I think that's what's most important right now. It's to have people who are outside the systems who are not saying, I'm not going to benefit from it. It's a human gift. So that's how I'm doing things, and that's what I talk about. I talk about this with my kids. Yeah, but I love Vietnam, but yeah, I'm away from my wife. By the way, the other thing, my wife, she is now the CEO of Cure Alzheimer's. And so as my time got more flexible, I'm working really hard, but it's very flexible. I said, Meg, you should do that CEO thing. And so now she has more structured time. And so I can be around to help with Lila, who's still at home. The other two are in college. So like we've always like tried to balance time, and like it's not perfect. No marriage is perfect, but we talk about it. It's a dance. Yeah, and that's the balance part of it. It's like dancing. It is. Or flying a helicopter. It's constant small adjustments, you know.
Okay, so I'm Philip, and I feel very, very touched and inspired by your sharing. I had no idea that I would end here today. In that morning, it just came the message that this happens, and I feel that it's a very important moment, actually, for me and what I do, because I'm also teaching. And one of the most important things that I observe and feel, even though I was absolutely not planning to teach in my life, by the way, is that self-worthiness and authenticity for children is so important. And I saw it on one of your slides, I don't remember which one, but I see that it is one of the pillars of having a happy life, of a life of contribution to others, but beginning with yourself, to be joyful, truly happy, and being okay with what you are and who you are. And I want to ask you, as very experienced, how would you help children to feel that? How would you install self-authenticity, acceptance and love in children? And I mean children of all ages, including up to 30, 40 and plus, whatever that is.
Yeah, you know, it's the dedication to the book. It says, for mom and dad, to the child inside each of us. So your question is, so I wrote this in a way that kids can read it, and literally for the adults, I'm trying to speak to that kid still stuck in there somewhere that is looking at adult you and saying, what in the world? You know what I mean? It's that. So I don't talk very differently, believe it or not, to kids than I do. What you just saw, I talk to them like this too. I think I've spoken to like 600, 700, 800 kids in Vietnam in the last 2 days. And it's the same tone. I change stories so that if it helps them understand it better, but I don't dumb it down. I don't condescend to them. I talk to them. It's the same principles. So that's how I do it. And then the other thing I think they can feel, and it's hard to, I don't know, like I think they can feel that, like I love them, like I care about them. Like and as a guy, you have to picture me, a private equity guy, particularly like Asian men aren't like, it's not easy to, there's not a lot of permission for Asian men to sort of be like loving. That's not the movie line in the movies. Okay, and I get that a lot, Asian men, black men, and white men, all men, right? We're not allowed to be. We're not supposed to be like loving. So I talk about it. Why wouldn't I want you to know that I have a big heart? So that's the answer. I don't condescend to kids. I talk to them like this. And they feel it, and most of the kids say to me, they're like, isn't the world like this? I'm like, they're like, but it's so stupid. Why wouldn't you just do this? I'm like, and so usually with kids, younger kids particularly, I say to them, just do me a favor. You don't have to remember anything what I said. Hopefully you can feel what I'm saying to you.